All right, so here we are. We're looking at Dar al Islam. This is an old map that was made during the post-classical era. It's kind of skewed. Right here you can see where they have, right, the Arabian Peninsula, trans-Saharan trade routes running through Africa. And then over here you have Europe, right? And over here you would have the Silk Roads into East and South Asia. Well, let us move in to a couple things and see where this is going to take us. All right, so the spread of Islam. Here is pretty color-coded. I think it's easy to understand, right? You have the initial start with Muhammad from 622 to 632, taking the area that is color-coded red, which is on the Arabian Peninsula down here. After that, right, you have the four caliphs before the Umayyad, and this expansion, right, pretty much takes like this area where we have the orange. Notice it is moving out of the Arabian Peninsula. They're into the Sassanid, they're into the Ptolemaic Egypt, and they're knocking on the Byzantines. Well, under right the Umayyad, which is green areas which are at it, which would be over to North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula and more of what was known as Persia, but into India at this time. You have this expansion over 130 years. That's pretty big to go that far that fast, I mean, at that time period. But it's under the Caliphate, right? And after the Umayyad, you get the Abbasid, which kind of stays the same. You don't have any real growth past that. Well, things happen during this time. And what happens during this time is you're starting to get Afro-Eurasian trade routes. Blue in this is symbolizing the maritime, and then the brown is symbolizing when you're going through and looking at the land trade routes. Notice over here where you're getting this movement of Africa through the trans-Saharan trade routes in the Mediterranean basin. You have a trade of gold from sub-Saharan Africa into the Umayyad-controlled regions of the Mediterranean and North Africa, which brings them into this world of trade. Notice the Silk Roads are still going, and you have the maritime routes. Well, a prime example of Dar al Islam and looking at this would be people who travel these trade routes. Now I'm going to take you to another slide, and that would be the trade routes of Ibn Battuta, which is towards the latter part of the classical era. It is broken down here. You could see, right, Ibn started over here, right? He ended up, right, went all the way down into Asia and then returned. Obviously, that's not the correct path, but he's traveling through this road and these maritime routes on places, but they're trade venues. You notice, right, if we go back, right, on this slide, and we draw that same thing in, he is basically following trade routes of the time. Well, who's trading during this time? Well, of course everyone's trading, but you have Islam, and it's a growing, right, Dar al Islam is growing through Afro-Eurasia. Well, when he follows this, right, you can get this idea of this map, which I would like you to do later on this map, is you can cue in on each stage and read where he went. So during the period or during this lesson, please go into this graphic. I will post the URL, but it is right up here. You can see it, and moving forward. Dar al Islam, right, is a very powerful movement of culture. Ibn Battuta utilized this culture to travel throughout. Hopefully this has helped you on a demonstration on what Dar al Islam has been. Thank you.